Hello, my name is Osborne, and today we are going to be analyzing my 2217 that I recently got for Superliminal Glitchless. It's a top time, thankfully top five, wonderful, and I'm hoping that I can use this for marathon submission videos and that I can give a wonderful commentary, see how you can see the potential in accepting this run. So without further ado, I just want to mention that the base mechanic behind this game is just perception is reality, and so we're going to be seeing different kinds of objects being resized from very small to very big, and vice versa, and use very clever puzzle solving skills in order to make use of that mechanic throughout the run. But without further ado, we're just gonna start here. Just me going through a natural grinding session. But timing doesn't start when we go through in induction when we click on the level, but rather it starts when we walk through this first door right here. And again, the entire thing that the game tells you repeatedly is perception is reality, and I'm gonna show you a really good example of how that mechanic is being fleshed out in this first level. This first level induction is actually a really difficult level, not just because it's like it's a very reset heavy level as well, not just because it's the first level, but because the movement and the precision that you have to move these objects around and being able to solve these puzzles very quickly is it's a very hard thing to do. And this right here is a perfect example of the resize mechanic, where you just grab this piece of cheese and resize it from very small to very big. However close or however large it looks to the player is however large it actually is. But as you can see right here, I'm just trying to um, move my way through this level and trying to resize all the different objects very precisely, very cleanly. And even as you can see there, like it's the small mishaps kind of add up throughout the run, and so this is one of the levels that is incredibly hard to optimize. And right here, we're just going to see another great example of the resize mechanic, but also a great example of how the game just kind of lines itself up for us. So we're just going to take that sign and resize it to step on those two buttons right there. But for the most part, that is the end of induction. We're just gonna have this one last strat here with it's called fast cheese. We're gonna take this cheese and we're just gonna push it into the wall using our character in order to knock down those walls. Whenever you let go of an object, whenever it's in the air falling, the physics of the object kind of get unlocked for a minute, and so you, the player, can actually move forward and move the and physically move the object. And in the glitch categories, it actually opens up a lot of avenues for different glitches. But in this category, we just use it to push objects in order to perform strats like that. But this next level is called optical. It's all based around optical illusions. Each level has a different kind of theme to it, and it also has a different way of fleshing out the resize mechanic and the perception is reality mechanic as well. But right here, we're just gonna take this sign, and we want it to be as close to the floor as possible. Whenever when we grab it again, we want it to be as close to us and as close to the floor as possible, so that it can be really big when we resize it. And we're just gonna use it as a ramp right there. And a lot of things that you might not notice at first is I'm actually being very careful in order to not do as many ledge grabs as I can, because when you do have a ledge grab animation, it actually slows you down, and those stuff adds up throughout the run. We're going to see a really good example of those in the next level. But right here is what we call jump resizing. That right there is when you take an object and you jump and you resize it underneath you in order to make it bigger and get onto the next platform, like we saw right there. That is actually in originally it was supposed to be an intended mechanic. Like developers knew that mechanic was there, like that it existed, but they thought it was a bit too complicated for casual players, and so instead we use it as a speedrun strat or to skip rooms entirely. You can also use it as backup strats. For example, if that cube right there wasn't big enough, you could just jump resize in order to make it big enough in order to ledge grab onto the next platform and grab the green chess piece. But as you can see, out of context, this is a very trippy game. It's very hard to wrap your head around if you've never seen it before. But after a while, you just kind of get used to it in the speed run. But right here, we're just gonna take the moon, and as you can see, it's a very tiny entrance. The fastest way to resize something that's really small and you want to make it really big is just try and take an object that's as close to you as possible and look up at the object and just let go and kind of like spam the grab button so you can let go and grab it again before it like falls through you. Um, but as you can see, that was a very wonderful optical. We actually golded that split, so that's great. But this next level is called cubism. It's all around, it's centered around cubes, and the cubes actually get kind of weirder as the level goes on. But as a matter of fact, we're actually going to skip the first cube in this level right here. Originally, in this next stream, you're supposed to take a cube that is on the room to the right and use it as a platform. And instead, we can just jump onto this rail right here and use it use it as a platform already up there. Then we're gonna take this half cube, but as I said, the cubes will progressively get weirder and weirder as we go along. Um, but the one of the more major things around this level is just how optimized it is. And again, if we were to find like a time save here, it would be like, trying to avoid this kind of ledge grab. And we do have a time save for that. If but it's we in order to make the cube a bit bigger, you can actually just jump on it and avoid that ledge grab like I did right there. It saves like less than half a second. However, that's just how optimized this level is. It's stuff like that where you just avoid ledge grabs. You're trying to find something that saves half a second in order to just not have as much of those little time losses stack up throughout the run. But as you can see, these cubes are getting weirder and weirder as we progress, and this is like pretty much the only major mistake that I remember doing in this run, where these cubes just kind of falls apart underneath me. But as you can see, we kind of improvised our way out of there. But at the last level, we were just teleported to a different part of the level geometry, and you can just walk straight backwards into this door right here. But yeah, that's cubism. A good amount of time saved there, but again, it's one of the more optimized levels in the game. There's not much we can say about it other than just trying to find a little time save and trying to make sure that your movement is really, really precise. But in this next level, it is called Blackout. Blackout is an amazing level, both casually and in the speedrun. In the speedrun, because you don't really have to do much. It's not a very skip heavy level or movement heavy level. It's very much a break between the levels that surround it, Cubism and Clone, where it's very movement based. However, the reason that it's also a good level casually is because this level kind of gives the impression of a horror game. And it turns the perception is reality thing into a completely different light. It's only the level is only as scary as the player perceives it to be. So if their reality is that the level is scary, then they're going to perceive it as such. And so the first small time skip here is that there's a bridge here that you can like look down and use the light in order to navigate your way. But if you already know what you're doing, you can just jump to one part of the bridge and then jump to the next ledge. We're there. And another tiny little time save that you're going to see me do throughout the run is that wherever we're going up stairs or any kind of ramp, you want to like jump your way up the ramp because stuff like that is going to add up throughout the run. And your movement speed kind of decreases when you're going up ramps and stairs. But when it comes to Blackout, the level is only as scary as the player lets it to be, and people are genuinely terrified at this part of their casual run because they feel like the game has suddenly shifted into this horror vibe. But as we can see at the end of the level, it's not all as it seems. This trick right here, you're originally supposed to take a light, like a sign that emits light, and you're supposed to go through this like maze of boxes. But instead, if you already know what you're doing, you can just walk backwards and go and navigate the maze yourself. That's what we call blind maze. The way we do that is that if you were to turn your quality settings all the way down, once you get into the maze and walk backwards, there's going to be a tiny little horizontal line of light that you can see and that you can use to position yourself and navigate your way through the maze, kind of as like a guide for where you are and where your positioning is. And so that's the easiest and simplest way and the fastest way of doing blind maze. But now that we're at the end of Blackout, as you can see, the blood that we saw on the floor was just red paint, and it's beans for breakfast, I guess. Beans for breakfast in Blackout. Um, and so it's not. We can just see that the scariness was all on the player's head. But as you can see, another gold right there, wonderful. But this level right here is called Clone. And as the name implies, the base mechanic of this level is to clone objects. However, ironically speaking, this first puzzle right here does not involve cloning an object at all. Rather, we're just going to take this green door, and we're going to use it to knock down this button right here. However, we're just going to keep to the corners and try and cut as many of them as we can in order to save more time in this level. It's another really optimized level. But as you can see here right there is with the cloning mechanic. You're just going to keep cloning. You're just going to spam them and use them kind of like as a ramp, because the more you clone objects, the smaller they get. With the exception of this puzzle right here. This puzzle, we're just going to take these clocks and we're just going to resize them in order to use them to get up to that platform right there. There's a slightly faster way we can use the second clock as kind of like a ramp if you slant it correctly. But if you're not well versed in it, it's not very much worth the time save. It's like half a second at best. But if you're looking for like really optimized times, and I mean incredibly optimized times, then yeah, it is kind of worth that time save. But as you can see in the last room was the red puzzle room. A lot of people don't realize that the cloning mechanic is actually also based on perception itself. So when we take the apple and we line it up with where the green button is, we can just clone the apple and it'll land right on the green button. I've seen people spend like hours on that puzzle because they just can't figure out what they need to do with the cloning mechanic in that room. But with that, that is the last puzzle that we have here in Clone. There's not a lot more to say about it other than there is an achievement that a lot of casual players have, where if you clone an object 100 times, which is the maximum amount of times you can clone an object, the game will actually give you an achievement called "Why Are You Like This?" This level is kind of like a fan favorite of many, primarily because of how fun the cloning mechanic is and how the game rewards you for just exploring and testing out all the different features of that mechanic. But this level right here is called Dollhouse. It is the everyone's favorite level. I say sarcastically because it's no one's favorite level. This is the easiest level that you can lose time here. Luckily, we actually have a really good Dollhouse in this run. We save time here, so which is great. But as you can see, this first area is just the same as the other areas. Whenever you start a new level, you're always going to start out in this like lobby area, with the exception of a few. However, in this first room right here, we're gonna resize this dollhouse, and then we're gonna go inside the dollhouse. This is the first level in which you're not only resizing the objects, but you're technically also resizing yourself when you walk through them. And the most annoying thing is that when if you're too big, then your character if you resize your object too big, then your character is going to be too small and you're going to walk too slowly, and that's a time loss. However, if you resize the house too small, your character is going to be too big and won't be able to go out the door on the other end. And the worst thing that can happen is that you accidentally enter the house at an angle and you are too small to either go in the one exit, and you're too big to go out one exit, and you're also too big to go back the way you came from, and you're soft locked. You have to reset the checkpoint. In this right here, we're just going to take this fan, resize it quickly on the door. That's the fastest way of resizing objects if you want to make it bigger, kind of like next to a wall, with the exception of a few things. But we're just going to knock down that Jenga tower, and we're just going to go straight through that window right there. That is actually a lot harder than it looks, because that window is, you could very easily like miss time when you're gonna re-grab it and it can fall through you, or you can accidentally clip into the window, which can be considered a glitch in some cases. So you really want to be careful. And this dollhouse right here, or this bouncy castle right here, you want to be careful with it, because if it can fall off in this once you put it on this board right here, and in doing that, it'll just be a huge time loss for you. But the last strat that we're gonna have right here is we're just gonna take that portal, we're gonna resize it, do that keyhole, and as it falls, we're just gonna walk straight through it. And with that, that is the end of Dollhouse. I feel like I might have missed something. I think I explained everything, but there is a lot going around in Dollhouse, and so I'm pretty sure I was able to get the majority of the strats in. However, but with that, we're gonna go straight into another strat right here, in this level called Labyrinth. And with that, we're just gonna go straight here, and this hallway right here, this really long hallway, is covered by 5 separate audio triggers, and we are able to skip 3 of them. As you can see, I'm kind of just doing senseless parkour right here. However, that parkour is to jump over an invisible audio trigger. That was found by accident by one of our runners, Hippienator. Um, in accidentally performing a glitch, he was able to launch himself above a trigger and realize that you can actually skip them. They don't go all the way up to the ceiling. But as you can see with that soda can, we were able to jump onto that like speaker on the wall and skip the second invisible audio trigger. There is a way to skip a third one, however, only skipping 2 of them saves time. But with that, that's the introduction to Labyrinth. I got a bonus soda, that like pink soda right there. That's a really rare thing to happen to. So that just proves that this run was blessed from the beginning. What we're doing right here is that we're actually going to be lining ourselves up very specifically with certain visual cues in the level, because if you line yourself up correctly, you can just spam left mouse and you're going to be able to click the alarm clock right when you get teleported back. Your horizontal position is the only thing that changes. Your vertical position doesn't. So wherever you look is where you're going to be looking when you go back to this room right here, like whatever height your character is at. But right there, we just did a frame perfect trick. I'm hoping that if I get accepted, I'm able to make that joke in time. But with this next, this is also a fan favorite. There's a lot of different things that are very trippy in this level. That out of context, again, it just seems ridiculous. Even in the glitchless speedrun, you know. But with that, we got that quick regrab of the door there, and in order to fall through, that like little passageway. In this area right here, we're just going to drop down. We're going to resize the stair in order to just immediately fall through the floor naturally. But right here, we're going to go into one of the more complicated puzzles, probably the most complicated puzzle in the game. As you can see, what we're doing here is the green signs above each hallway. It's indicate the way we're supposed to go. However, whichever way you look first is the way that's always going to have the stop, do not enter signs. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to look the opposite way of the sign first, and then look the correct way of the sign in order to go through the door. In this next room right here, we're going to take this cube, and we're actually just going to jump on this life raft on the side here and use that cube as a platform. If you originally used a cube to get onto the second platform, that cube will disappear and you have to use a second cube, which will ultimately lose you some time. But with that, we were able to skip the cube, saving a bit of time over the intended route. Right here, we're just going to make sure that we don't our movement is very precise, so that we just get immediately teleported to these different areas of the map. Right here is called elevator maze. Originally, what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to like get lost in the maze until you find an arrow on the ground and follow the arrows until you reach the end of the maze. But we actually have a dedicated path. It's right, left, right from the moment you enter the maze. A lot of people think that maze is RNG. It's not. We have a predestined path that we're supposed to be taking. Right here, when you enter this room, it's covered by triggers, and then if you hit those triggers, the parallax effect will wear off, and you'll see that those are actually walls, not an actual parking lot. But you don't even have to be facing the triggers in order to activate them. You just have to walk into them, and with that, we were able to grab the alarm clock from really far away. We're going to create a paradox right here by grabbing that little clinic through the vending machine and boxes. And with that, white space is actually, the majority of white space is actually purely movement based. There is a small trick that I'm going to explain that's actually going to take up a bit of time. But with that, the 2 major strats we have here is just at the very end. But with that, again, the the thing that you really want to know about this category the most is that the the most important thing is just how precise your movement is. The better your movement is, the more that, like, it's 95% movement really, and even the major tricks that we have are movement based. So with that, you really want to practice, because movement is probably the hardest thing to master in any speed run really. But luckily we're able to find good tricks, so it's not just pure movement or intended routes, you know. But right here, we're actually gonna come up to the most recent strategy found. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this. I'm actually going to reset checkpoint right here. And the reason I'm doing that is because for some reason there was a developer error where whenever you walk into that first room, you're actually not at size 1, the default size you're supposed to be at. You're at size 0.98. However, if you were to reset checkpoint right there, whenever you reset checkpoint, you're going to be resized to size 1. And when you're, the smaller the size you are, the slower you move. So you really want to resize that checkpoint in order to be a bit bigger and move a tiny bit faster. However, it doesn't stop there. Whenever you walk into this portal right here, where it leads you to another part of the map, and also 2 more portals leading up to the end of the levels, you're actually going to get resized to what is originally supposed to be 0.98, then to then the 0.1, to the 0.11, and then the 0.12. However, if you were to reset checkpoint right there, you're going to start off at size 1, and then go up to size 1.1, and then 1.2, and then 1.3. Those numbers may or may not be a bit off. You were, if you can go into the speedrun mod that we have, that the practice mod that we have, you're able to see the exact dimensions and sizes. But with that, if instead of finishing the level at point 1.2, you're going to finish the level at 1.3. And with that, you're going to be moving slightly faster. And believe it or not, that overall saves 2 whole seconds just from resetting checkpoint in this level. You're able to get a free 2-second time save if you just reset checkpoint. And resetting checkpoint doesn't lose you any time, because we run on IGT and the timer pauses. However, right here, as we can see, we're just gonna jump up these stairs and walk down here. In the room after the next room, we're actually going to come up to the next 2 strats. As I said, that one strat, it's very simple, but it has a lot of technical explanations behind it. But in this next room, we're actually going to take a chess piece, and we're going to be able to skip using a second chess piece in order to solve this level. In this next room, there's going to be tiles of chessboards, and the chess tiles are only solid if you have a chess piece on them. If you don't have a chess piece on them, you're going to fall through. Originally, you're supposed to use 2 chess pieces and just alternate between tiles. However, if you jump and then quickly move the chess pieces from one tile to the other while you're in midair, you can actually just use 1 chess piece. That is a lot of inputs you're supposed to be using at one time, and it's very hard to master, very hard to learn, especially when you're starting out. As you can see there, I missed the ledge grab onto that platform, but fortunately, that right when you land near that platform you're supposed to ledge grab, you can actually just reset checkpoint, and it'll lead you right to that spot. I will give a photosensitivity warning before this part of the game happens, but right now we are currently in the very last we're currently in the very last part of this level. We're just gonna fall through here, and what we're gonna be doing is we're going to just keep falling until it fades to black, and then it's gonna go to a loading screen. On that loading screen, I'm going to hit an alarm clock at the other side of the loading screen, and that is when time is gonna happen. So after this, 3, 2, 1, and time. 22:17 flat on the dot. With that, that is Superliminal Glitchless. I feel like I forgot to mention the very last strat within white space, which is the same resize mechanic, the jump resize mechanic that we opted. Very fitting that's the last strat that we use. However, should probably pause it. But with that, we are going to That is Superliminal Glitchless. I'm very glad that I was able to record this submission for you guys. I hope that you can consider this as a good race for the marathon, and I'm going to. I'd be more than happy to show this off. I think this is going to be a very good experience and a good exposure for Superliminal. So thank you.